All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is July 16th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at BYOB Trading.com. This is the day trading service for the hit and run candlesticks family. And let's go take a look at some charts today. Made 60K. Let's look at how I did that. So let's move this over. Let's pull up a 10-minute chart and let's slide this over so you can see. Let's pull up a 15-minute chart. There we go. All right, 15-minute chart, and let's dig out the real P&L. All right, first one, 0 DTE puts, 617. All right, you can see price came down to 618 right here. Okay, we had a 10-minute downtrend underneath VWAP that shot down into 618. All right, so on those you can see I bought them and sold them on the highs. Bottom, sold them on the highs. Bottom and sold them on the highs. So as the candle comes down for the put, I'm loading, and as the candle, the option candle, okay, not this candle, I'm watching this candle to make sure I should be buying. Okay, I want to see price moving down, so I'm buying the lows of the candles and selling the highs of the option candle. Okay, so I'm buying the lows of the option candle, selling the highs of the option candle, but I'm watching the price candle to make sure it's still moving down and still in a 10-minute downtrend. All right, about 14K on some 617 puts. All right, 2 days till expiration. Looks like I'm still holding 70. I think those are part of a spread. Again, I'm buying the low of the candle and trying to sell the high of the candle. See, as the candle goes up, I'm selling in to see these big dips. All right, so those big dips, I'm selling in to that dip. All right, as price comes down. All right, and when I'm buying, and I'm buying them back if they happen to swing back up and the 10-minute uptrend is, 10-minute downtrend is still intact. Okay, so I'm buying the lows of the candle and trying to sell the highs of the option candle. Again, watching the 10-minute downtrend to make sure it's still intact. Okay, got 11.8 here. These are some 627 calls. Okay, so I'm buying the lows and selling the highs. Okay, so I bought the dip and sell the peak. So obviously I had some of those at the beginning of the day for me to buy some and sell some off up here. Okay, so 11K on those. 2 days till expiration, 635 calls. Okay, 4K on those. Again, buying the dips of the candles, trying to buy the lows, and I have my orders already out there for price to run into them and sell the highs of those candles. Okay, so I'm waiting for price to run into them and I sell the highs of the candles. Okay, 4K on some 624 calls, 0 DTE. Again, I'm buying the low and trying to sell the high of those candles. Okay, that's the 624 4 DTE. All right, 630, 2 days till expiration calls. All right, 2,500 on those. Again, I'm buying the lows of the candle and selling the highs of the candle, making sure I still have that 10-minute uptrend intact. Okay, I'm watching the 10-minute uptrend, all right, to make sure that it's intact, all right, up over VWAP, all right, and I'm buying the lows of the candles and selling the peaks, all right. 628 calls, 1 day till expiration. I accumulated some of those for tomorrow. Again, buying the lows of the candle and trying to sell the peaks. As you can see, selling the peaks up there and buying the lows. All right. 625, 0 DTE call, 1,500 on those. Again, buying the low and averaging out, selling the peaks on that one. 0 DTE puts, 614 puts, 1,100. I bought the low and sold the high of that candle right there. Some 618 puts. This is part of a spread. These are sold short for the 70 that I have long. So again, I sell the peaks. They're sold short. So I'm selling the peaks. It's in the reverse because they're short still. So I sell the peaks and buy the dips. Okay, so as the price candle dips, got to make sure I got that 10-minute uptrend. Remember, this is a bearish. Excuse me. It's a bullish spread. Okay, it's a bullish credit spread because I'm selling the 618s. All right, so I'm looking for that 10-minute uptrend to stay intact so I can sell the highs of the candles and buy the lows of those option candles. I need that 10-minute uptrend. Got to watch the trend, all right, to make sure it's intact right there. 17 on some 640 calls. Still have some of those left. Again, you can see I was trying to buy the dips and selling the highs over my cost basis up there. Okay. Jim Wilson 10-minute chart shown. I can show the 10-minute. That's the 10 right there. Okay, that was the 15. I just wanted the 15 so people could see the blue dots are the buys and the red dots are the sells. All right, so you see how I made my profits for today. All right, so now let's drill down to the 10-minute chart and let's pick up a cleaner one. And you can see coming into the close, we have a 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. Looks like it's a pinch, so it looks like it's trying to begin a 10-minute downtrend there. But I'm gonna leave it as an uptrend because it's still over the 17 and it's still over the VWAP right there. Okay, on the 15-minute chart, you can see got a 15-minute uptrend, and we still got like kind of a 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. 2-hour chart, all right, got a 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. All right, for today. All right, on the daily chart, we're still in a daily uptrend. Notice the 3 EMA up over the 8 EMA. We closed over a bullish trap. All right, and over the 17 EMA right there. Okay, so you can see price action still bullish. See how price moves up and still holding that higher ground. Okay, as opposed to moving up and giving it up. Okay, they're up and they're holding the higher ground. It takes an incredible amount of energy to do that. It's like planking for 6 hours straight. All right, so you can see there's price holding the higher ground up there. Okay, let's take a look at the weekly chart. Weekly chart still in a weekly uptrend. Got the 3 EMA on top of the 8 EMA on top of the 17, rising 17 EMA right there. Okay, that's a weekly chart, and the monthly up chart right there. Monthly chart in an uptrend right there. All right, so you can see the 3 EMA is on top of the 8, and the candles and the trap are over the 17. Okay, so what do I like? All right, this is what I like. I like a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Okay, I like a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. All right, and the market is bullish. All right, we're bullish because we were in a daily uptrend that was inside of a weekly uptrend that was inside of a monthly uptrend. Now, when we started off today, we did not have a 2-hour uptrend. Okay, now what do I like? I like 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that's inside a 2-hour uptrend, that's inside of a daily uptrend, and all that is inside of a weekly uptrend, and all that's inside of the monthly uptrend, and all of that is over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, that's my favorite setup. Okay, I like to trade that. I like to trade the 10-minute chart. I open up each day, and all I do is talk about a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP or a 10-minute downtrend under VWAP. Okay, we had a 10-minute downtrend under VWAP. We traded that there. And then we had a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. We traded that back up there. Okay, so we had both sides. 10-minute downtrend, 10-minute uptrend. So this morning, what did I say that I was going to do? Okay, if you watch the morning video, I said it's going to mark off the first 15 minutes of price action, and whoever breaks out is probably who I'm going to go with. So let's drag this over and let's mark off the first 15 minutes. So we'll take a box. Okay, there's the first candle, 5-minute, second, and then there's the third. Okay, so I just mark off the box right there. Okay, now whoever breaks out of the box and closes a candle, all right, is going to be the team I'm going to go with. All right, so you can see they broke out of the box and closed the candle down here. So I went with puts. All right, they moved to the right. I had to stay with it for about an hour and a half, and then you can finally see I got a push down here, then a little recovery, and I told people that my stop's going to be 20 cents over the high of day. 20 cents over the high of day. Okay, so here's the push down. You can see the candle closes, 5-minute candle closes underneath, okay, VWAP, underneath the box. This is the opening range. It's the first 15 minutes. And then they come back and revisit the opening range, and then they get slammed down right here. And we made a lot of profits right into that. Okay, so then price turned around and went back in the other direction, got up over VWAP, got a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, which we traded all the way into the close. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP right there. Okay, those are the instructions today. If you follow the instructions, you should have made money. Okay, so there's SPY on the 5-minute chart. I trade the 10-minute downtrend right here and the 10-minute uptrend right there. All right, so there's SPY. Again, I like 10-minute uptrend over VWAP inside a 2-hour uptrend that's inside of a daily uptrend, inside of a weekly uptrend, and all that's inside of a monthly uptrend, and all of that's over the all-time high anchored VWAP, which is the pink line. Okay, because when I get that, I got all the wind in my sails. Okay, I got the monthly chart is bullish and pushing wind into my sails. I've got the weekly chart is bullish and pushing wind into my sails, all at the same time. And the daily chart is bullish and pushing wind into my sails, and so is the 2-hour uptrend, bullish and pushing wind into my sails. Now, at the beginning of the day, it was not, and then they recovered it later in the day. Okay, so you can see he had a 2-hour uptrend, again breaking the rubber band candle on the 10-minute chart. This would be the big spike candle, and this would be the spike. This would be the free floating. You could get in right there on that 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Okay, so there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. All right, let's take a look at QQQ. And we'll look at QQQ on the daily chart. QQQ, let's pan this over a little bit. Got a lower high and a lower low, but we closed over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. You can see QQQ chart making higher lows, same as SPY, higher lows, higher highs. So that's an uptrend. All right, up at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. Okay, so QQQ, SPY over prior all-time high anchored VWAP. So all that's bullish. All right, so there's QQQ. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, Diamond Dow. See, Diamond Dow moves up, holds the higher ground. Okay, it's much different than moving up and giving it up. Okay, when price goes up and then gives it up, that's just neutral. All right, when you can get price to move up and hold the higher ground, that's bullish. Okay, that's like, for all of you that exercise, it's like planking for 6 hours. All right, and they go up and they hold that higher ground. Okay, so you can see price move up. They were in quadrant 3, now they're in the middle of quadrant 4. So they're bullish up there. Anytime price is over the upper third, up here in the upper third, that's bullish. Down here in the lower third, this is bearish. All right, in between here, right in here, this is neutral. All right, bullish, neutral, bearish. Okay, so price up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish, up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Diamond Dow right there, bullish and in an uptrend, making higher lows. And of course, you got 2 highs here, higher highs. So that's an uptrend. Okay, let's take a look at IWM. All right, IWM putting in a horrible candle yesterday, much better candle today. Lower high, lower low, closing underneath, closing inside of a bearish trap, but over a rising 17 EMA. So that's bullish. Again, up at the top of quadrant 4. Okay, that's bullish up there. Okay. Oh, no. If they're in the upper third, that was not quadrant 4. So let's zoom out here, see if we're in the upper third. Yeah, that's upper third right there. So they closed the candle up there in the upper third. That's bullish for IWM, closing the candle up there. Okay, closing over the 17 is bullish. Closing in the upper third is bullish. Still in an uptrend. We got higher lows. All right, and we got higher highs. There's a high right up there. And then they just made another higher low right there. So IWM, this is bullish up here and in an uptrend and over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Again, we want to see them move up and hold the higher ground. And they're doing a pretty good job of it so far. All right, let's take a look at FNGU. Okay, look at FNGU. Again, another perfect example of moving up and holding that higher ground. Again, you're up. See the move up? And then over. All right? See, they're up and over. They're holding the higher ground up there at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish. Okay? That is a bullish environment. That is a bullish behavior. Okay? Candle for today is lower high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap, over the rising 17, that's bullish. Top of quadrant 4, that's bullish, holding the higher ground, that's also bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, again, that's bullish. Still in an uptrend, see the lows, all right? They make a higher low, then we got highs, all right? Couple of highs here, and they're making higher highs up there. Okay, FNGU, bullish, and in an uptrend and holding the higher ground. That's bullish. Okay, let's take a look at technicals. Let's take a look at T2122. Well, we came out of the sell zone. Okay, we were in the sell zone yesterday. Came out of the sell zone into the seller's chop zone, and then we made an appearance inside the buyer's chop zone before the end of day. Okay, that's a bullish end of day. I would think things are going to get bullish tomorrow morning, all right? Probably a continuation of the bullish uptrend that we had. T2123. This is the 15-minute chart. You can see selling from the beginning of the day all the way into the dip, and then you can see after the dip, the bulls took over and rallied it all the way back over yesterday's close. Okay, so we closed here yesterday. We rallied back up over yesterday's close right there. Okay, so again, putting in a higher low. Here's a low. We put in a higher low. Okay, 15-minute chart was in a downtrend because we made a low here and then we made a lower low. Okay, so we're still in a downtrend, all right, until we make a higher high. That's the high to beat right there. So once they get up over this high, they'll have a 15-minute uptrend. Right now, let's look at the price action. Okay, they're moving up and then over to the right. Okay, so they're in a downtrend, but here's the bottom line: they're not moving down; they're moving up. All right, so even though they're in a downtrend, technically, they're not moving down. Still up over this 200 SMA. That's always bullish as long as you're moving up. All right, so price action, nice. Still got a bullish gap here that hasn't been filled. Again, you can see price action still up and over to the right. That's bullish right there, T2123. All right, let's take a look at the same product on the 3-bar chart. Okay, so here's 3 more green candle bars today. Again, up and over to the right. Again, holding the higher ground. It's always a bullish environment and a bullish behavior. Again, you're up over 2 prior all-time highs right here. You're up over the hooking 200 SMA. Once we get through all of this consolidation right through here, okay, all of this consolidation, that high, that low, that high, that low, over here, all right, it's smooth sailing to attack the all-time high right up there, all right? So they're grinding away at it right now, all right? So there's T21, 23, 15-minute 3-bar chart, okay? That's 3 equal time segments for the trading day. FNGU, okay, price action here for FNGU. Again, continued selling from the day before. We're finding ourselves under the 200 SMA, but knocking on the door. Okay, we did spend some time. Look at this over VWAP. That's bullish when we're over VWAP. So you can see, just like the rest of the market, they had a sell-off, all right, into 11 o'clock. And then the bulls took over and said, I'll buy that dip. And they bought it right back up over VWAP here. Okay, so, and back up to the 200 SMA right there. So price action, still bullish, all right? Let's look at this. Again, you've got price, all right, has moved up and over to the right, okay? It's not going up and giving it up, okay? It's up and over to the right. That's bullish, all right? It just hasn't broke out in a couple days, in a couple weeks, but that's still bullish to hold this higher ground up here. Notice we were up over the 200 yesterday. Today we're a little bit under and knocking on the door. We're still up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? And holding the higher ground. So that's bullish right there, okay? So that's FNGU. Let's take a look at a few sectors. And we'll come over to this one right here. Let's take a look at XLE. And we'll look at it on the daily chart. Okay, XLE. Okay, notice XLE. Okay, XLE. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and then push it over. Okay, XLE, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap and under the 17. That's not good. Again, that's moving up and giving it up. All right. Hence, that's the whole reason why XLE is neutral. Okay. XLE is not in the upper third up here. Okay, this would be the upper third up there, anywhere up here in the upper third. They're not up there. They're not in the lower third. Okay, down here. So they're in the neutral land, which resides right through here. Okay, this is the neutral land. Okay, they're in the neutral land. Why? Because they have a habit of moving down and giving it up. All right. So they can work on the downside. You go down and give it up. It's the same thing as moving up all right, and giving it up. Okay, so moving down, so they're in the neutral land right now. Okay, so they are acting bullish because they have made some higher lows. See, here's a low. They made a couple higher lows, and then here's some more higher lows, and then they got some highs. Here's a high. They made a higher high, and yet again a higher high, and then believe it or not, but that green candle beats these highs by 1 penny, so there's a higher high there. Okay, but you notice they struggle to hold the higher ground. Okay, but they continue making higher lows and higher highs, so they're just not ready yet. Okay, they're just neutral. Okay, you can see them knocking on the door of the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. Okay, just can't get on top of it and hold the higher ground. Just can't break into the bullish upper third. All right, but they are in an uptrend, and they're holding that quite well for the last, well, April, May, June, July, going into August. So you've got about 3 months there. See, 1, 2, 3, 3.5 months they've been holding this uptrend. Okay, it's taken them a while, but eventually I think they could make their way up here, right? I think if we had a little bit, once that big beautiful bill starts pushing money into the economy, I think there's a good chance there'll be an increased demand on the energy sector that should help drive energy sector up. All right, we just need that money to start flowing. I think that's up to the president or Congress. I'm not sure who. All right, but now that they passed it, they need to fund it. All right, so there's XLE. All right, let's take a look at USO. Okay, USO again. USO kind of got the same problem as XLE. This is our United States oil fund. Okay, they go up and they give it up. That's neutral. Again, they go down and they give it up. Okay, so just neutral. Again, not in the upper third, not in the lower third. They're in the middle ground here, which makes them neutral right in through here. Okay, so USO putting in a green candle, but they had to gap down to get it green. So there's a lower high and a lower low, closing underneath, bearish trapping underneath the 17, but on top of this 3-year high anchored VWAP. All right, so just neutral. Continues to make higher lows. See, here's a low, there's a higher low. All right, another higher low. All right, here's a couple highs, there's a higher high. So they're in an uptrend. Okay, they moved up and then they gave it up. So now they're in neutral land, not in the upper third, not in the lower third, just hanging out here at the midpoint, right on top of this 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line right there. Okay, so just neutral right there. All right, let's take a look at UNG. Now UNG is in a downtrend. UNG is showing us a head and shoulders pattern. Okay, so there's the triple crown right here, head right there, and then we've got this double top, this top, and this top. Okay, got a double top right shoulder, and we got a double top left shoulder over here, and then we've got a neckline that's been broken, and now they're trying to recover that neckline right here. You can see trying to recover that neckline. So you got a head and shoulders pattern showing up there. Okay, they're in a downtrend. Okay, why are they in a downtrend? Because you see the high, they made a lower high, and another lower high, and another lower high, and another lower high. Then we got 4 lows right here. Well, we made a lower low. Okay, so we're in a downtrend. And in order to negate this downtrend, they got to come take out this high right over here, and they can negate the downtrend label. All right, keep in mind, it's just the label. Okay, you can be in a downtrend and not move down. As you can see, for the last 5 days, price has been moving up. All right, so let's zoom in and see what we got over here. Okay, we are in the lower third. Okay, so lower third equals bearish. Okay, notice we're in the lower third. This is quadrant 1. This is quadrant 2. This is in the bearish zone down here. We're underneath this 18-month high anchored VWAP. All right, and you can see we're in a downtrend right now. Okay, you can see 5 days. Today's candle, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap, okay, and closing over the 17. That's a bullish behavior, okay, but we're still not out of the woods yet. All right, they're still in a downtrend, and they have not gotten up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, and they have failed us several times to hold the higher ground. Again, up, give it up, give it up. And you can see here, go up, give it up. Okay, they've failed to hold the higher ground. So they're still in a downtrend, and they're exhibiting that head and shoulders pattern right now. And maybe they're off to challenge the all-time lows that were from back in November of last year. So we'll see what they want to do. All right, currently they're in a downtrend and bearish. Let's take a look at GLD. Okay, GLD is bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, you notice GLD, as you can see, it's kind of easy to see here. Price moves up and then holds the higher ground. Okay, again, that's bullish. That's much different than moving up and giving it up, right? Notice we don't have that. Move up, give it up. We're up and we're holding the higher ground, so that's bullish. And we're doing it up at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish. And we're up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. And today's candle looks like an outside day. That's a lower low and a higher high. And we closed over, see, we closed would be the top of the body of this candle. So we closed over a bullish trap, over the 17. That's always bullish. We're up in quadrant 4. That's bullish. All right, and we're holding the higher ground, and we have an uptrend because we got some lows here, some higher lows here, one here, one here. There's a higher low right there than these lows right there. All right, and then we got some higher highs. Here's a high, there's a high. Okay, and we got some higher highs up here. So we're in an uptrend up at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish. Let's take a look at SLV. Okay, SLV for today looking lower high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. That's bullish. Up at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish. Up over this 12-year high anchored VWAP. That's a pink line. Okay, last time we were up this high, all right, I'm going to put in a line right here. Okay, it was 12 years ago. All right, and you can see the line touches right there on 2012. So 12 years ago, we were up this high. Okay, I'm on a monthly chart. Last time we were up this high. Okay, so notice 2013 over here, we never got up that high. 14, 15, 16. Okay, it's 2025, and we're now visiting the highs from 2012 right here. See that? That's the last time we were up this high. So that's a 12-year high. Okay, so there's silver on the monthly chart, seeing the 12-year high. Here's the daily chart. Let's pan this over. Again, you're bullish. You're up in the upper quadrant 4. That's bullish. And you're in an uptrend. You haven't made any lower lows, so you're still in this uptrend. That's bullish and in an uptrend. That's silver. All right, let's take a look at a few sectors. SMH. All right, believe it or not, yesterday SMH made a new all-time high. Okay, that's bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, everything's still working. See the 3 EMA on top of the 8 EMA, and they got the candles and the trap, or the trap right there over the 17, rising 17. That's bullish. So they're bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, that was a new all-time high yesterday. Let's take a look at XLK. Okay, XLK is lower high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. Look at them hold the higher ground and lean on resistance. That's a nice little grinder box. I got to tell you, that's a launch pad right there, okay? That right there looks like they're constructing a launch pad for another liftoff to go higher. That's XLK. Nice launch pad construction right up there. XLK, that's bullish and in an uptrend. You can see we're up over the prior all-time high anchored VWAP. That's a pink line. That's XLK. Let's take a look at IYT. Yes, I will send you. Lenny asked me if I would send the layout. Yeah, I'm going to send you this whole thing. See where it says room display? I'm going to send you that whole thing. This is kind of neat. I don't know if you guys got TC2000, but I can share this layout. Watch this. Share layout, and it creates a link. All right. So I copy it to the clipboard. And then I can see how Lenny asked for it right here. And I just tap his name and then I put it right in here. Okay, so there's that link for that TC2000 layout right there. So you're welcome, Lenny. All right, I love if you didn't know it and you're out there in Cyberland and Digiland, I'm here to help you succeed. All right, all I want is to see you succeed. Okay, because let's face it, if you're in my room and you're not making money, it's not going to be fun, and you're not going to want to pay for your subscription. Okay, so I try very hard to show you everything and give you all the tools that you need to be a successful independent trader. All right, anyways, last one, and then we're going to wrap this up. This is the transportation index, okay? Lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish trap, but over the rising 17. Notice, still in the upper third, that's bullish. Still in an uptrend, nothing's broken. Still up over this pink line, that's the all-time high in VWAP. So everything's still bullish there, all right? Everything's still bullish, all right? Now, if you're in this room, I don't know if you guys are out there in Cyberland, Digitalland, but I want you to notice something right here, okay? I'm going to show you something, okay? I gave you all three screens, okay? Okay, there's three screens. This is the one I trade off of right here. Okay, you can see I trade off of that one. That's the one I trade off of. All right, that's when I'm displaying all times. Then I gave you screen 2. All right, over here is my positions. Okay, right up here is my account value, gains, losses, right there. Okay, then I give you screen. On this side of the screen is my P&L. These are my gains and losses for the day. Okay, then I go to screen 3. Over here, these are my unfilled orders. These are orders that never got filled. These are orders that got filled. All right, it shows you the P&L right there. Okay, again, you can see the expiration date for those options. And you can see the quantity that I sold right there. Okay, so there's screen 3. Okay, I do everything I can to help traders succeed and show them how I trade and help them make money. And a lot of traders did well today. I am very pleased for all of you. All right, so that's it for today. I will see you all tomorrow at 8 o'clock. All right, and thanks for hanging out with me today. Let's do it again tomorrow.